She thought she could do better. She thought you were just another man, easily replaced, easily forgotten. But here's what she never considered. Not every man is built like you. Not every man can bring the kind of presence, stability, and quiet strength you carried effortlessly. And now as time passes, the realization is sinking in. At first, she might have felt free, like she had endless options. Maybe she even started seeing someone new. But slowly, the cracks begin to show. The excitement fades, the chase dies down, and she starts to see what she lost. This isn't about bitterness. This isn't about revenge. This is about understanding something most men don't realize. When you truly embody Stoicism, when you master your emotions, build your value, and carry yourself with dignity, you don't lose people. They lose you. The world tells men to chase, to beg, to prove their worth. But the moment you stop doing that, when you detach from the outcome and simply focus on being the best version of yourself, something shifts. You stop needing approval. You stop trying to convince anyone of your worth. And that's when you become irreplaceable. Because let's be real, most men today are weak. They seek validation, they crumble under pressure, and they let their emotions control them. Women don't regret losing men like that. They regret losing men who don't seek validation, men who don't chase, men who don't break under pressure, and that's exactly why she'll regret losing you more than you think. Not immediately, not when she's distracted by someone new, but when life reminds her of what real strength looks like. She'll remember how you handled things with logic, not emotion. She'll remember how you never let the little things shake you. And most importantly, she'll realize that the kind of man you are, the kind of discipline, self-respect, and presence you carried, that's rare. By then, you'll be far ahead, evolved, improved, and uninterested in looking back. That's what makes the regret hit even harder, because once a stoic man moves on, he never returns. She thought you'd always be there. Now she knows better. Women assume the strongest men will always wait. They take your presence for granted, thinking no matter what happens, you'll always be an option. But that's where they're wrong. A stoic man does not wait, he does not beg, and he does not tolerate disrespect. At first, she was confident in her choice. She believed you'd still be there, waiting in the background, ready to entertain her if things didn't work out with someone else. She thought she had time, but the one thing people always regret losing the most is what they thought was guaranteed. Imagine a man named Daniel. He was devoted, steady, and always there when his girlfriend needed him. She assumed he'd always be around, even when she started pulling away. She began acting distant, treating him like a backup plan. Then one day, without warning, Daniel changed. He didn't argue. He didn't beg for attention. He simply walked away and never looked back. Months later, she reached out. But by then, Daniel had leveled up. His career was booming. His confidence had skyrocketed, and he had no interest in looking backward. She suddenly realized she had lost something rare. A man who was truly irreplaceable. That's the moment regret sets in, because when a stoic man detaches, it's permanent, and that's what most women never see coming. She chose excitement over stability, a costly mistake. Women are often drawn to excitement, the thrill of the unknown, the rush of something new. They chase drama, passion, and the kind of instability that feels exciting in the moment. But here's what they don't realize: excitement fades. And when it does, reality hits hard. She thought stability was boring. She thought your consistency meant she could do better. So she chose the man who made her heart race, the one who played games, kept her guessing, and gave her highs and lows. But what she didn't understand is that real life isn't a romance movie. Stability isn't boring. It's valuable. Take Mark, for example. He was reliable, disciplined, and always had his life together. His girlfriend left him for a guy who seemed more exciting. The new guy was unpredictable, spontaneous, and full of surprises. But soon those surprises turned into broken promises. The unpredictability became irresponsibility, and what once felt like passion turned into chaos. That's when she realized stability wasn't boring. It was safe. It was rare. And now she had lost it. But by the time she understood this, Mark had already moved on to a woman who valued what he brought to the table. Excitement is temporary. Stability builds a future. And when she finally sees the difference, it's always too late. She replaced you fast, but not with someone better. The moment she left, she wanted to prove something. To herself, to her friends, maybe even to you. She wanted to show that she could move on effortlessly, that losing you didn't affect her. So what did she do? She found someone new fast. At first, it might look like she upgraded. She posts pictures, goes on dates, and makes sure the world sees her new happiness. But deep down, she knows the truth. Finding someone new doesn't mean finding someone better, and eventually the cracks start to show. See, she never actually took the time to replace you. She just distracted herself. Because filling a void and actually moving on are two different things. She thought another man would make her forget, but instead she's comparing him to you. And that's when regret creeps in. She starts noticing the little things. Maybe he doesn't have the same presence you had. Maybe he lacks the emotional control, the ambition, or the quiet confidence you carried. Maybe he's too emotional, too weak, or too desperate for her approval. Suddenly, she realizes that moving on wasn't the same as upgrading. She was so focused on proving that she didn't need you that she didn't stop to ask if what she was getting was actually better. And here's where it gets worse for her. Because while she was busy replacing you, you were busy improving yourself. By the time she figures out what she lost, you've already moved so far ahead that there's no way back. And that's what haunts her the most. Not just that she lost you, but that she replaced you with something less. She realized too late that most men are weak. At first, she thought men were everywhere. She believed she could replace you easily because, in her mind, all men are the same. But then she stepped back into the dating world, and reality hit her like a brick wall. Most men today are weak. They lack confidence, they seek validation, and they crumble under pressure. They over-apologize, they beg for attention, and they let their emotions control them. She didn't realize how rare you were until she started dealing with men who had no backbone. Suddenly, she's going on dates with guys who don't lead. They're nervous, unsure of themselves, and desperate to please her. And that's when it dawns on her. Being with a strong, disciplined, self-respecting man wasn't normal. It was a privilege. But let's be honest, this is also the fault of men themselves. Too many guys today think that being nice is enough. They think playing it safe, always agreeing, and avoiding conflict will make them desirable. It doesn't. It makes them forgettable. A woman doesn't regret losing a man who was weak. She regrets losing a man who had presence. A man who wasn't afraid to say no. A man who could stand on his own, with or without her. If you don't want to be another weak man in the crowd, wake up, build yourself, strengthen your mind, stop chasing approval. The moment you become a man of true value, she will regret losing you, because she'll realize that finding another man like you is nearly impossible. She expected you to chase, but you disappeared instead. She thought she had you figured out. She expected you to react like most men, begging, texting, trying to prove your worth. She assumed you'd wait around, hoping for another chance. But instead of chasing, you did the one thing she never expected. You disappeared. No arguments, no pleading, just silence. And that silence is powerful, because nothing haunts a person more than realizing they are no longer important. She wanted to believe you'd always be an option. She wanted to believe you couldn't let go. But when you vanished from her life without hesitation, it left a void she wasn't prepared for. Here's what most men don't understand. Chasing a woman who has already left kills attraction. It confirms to her that she made the right decision. But when you don't chase, when you accept the loss and walk away, it forces her to question everything. She starts wondering, was he really that into me? Did I make a mistake? Why isn't he fighting for me? That's when regret sets in, because when a man who was once devoted suddenly disappears, it creates a psychological effect she can't ignore. She starts seeing your absence everywhere, and the worst part? She can't do anything about it. By the time she realizes what she lost, you've already moved forward, and nothing stings more than knowing she expected a chase. But instead, she got silence. She sees you thriving, and it haunts her. At first, she assumed you'd struggle without her. She thought you'd be lost, stuck in the past, unable to move on. Maybe she even expected you to come crawling back. But instead of breaking, you leveled up. Now she sees you looking better than ever. You're more confident, more disciplined, and more focused. Your life is moving forward without her. And that's what haunts her the most. See, most people assume their absence will destroy you. But when they realize it actually transformed you, that's when the regret becomes unbearable. She sees the new version of you, the one who's stronger, sharper, and completely unbothered. And worst of all, she knows she's no longer part of your story. The life she once had access to, now it belongs to someone else, or to no one at all, because you no longer need anyone. She thought she was making the right decision. But seeing you thrive without her forces her to confront an ugly truth. She was never your source of happiness. You were hers. And now she's the only one stuck in the past. She wants you back, but Stoic men never return. Regret is a slow burn. At first, she convinced herself she made the right choice. She distracted herself, kept busy, and pretended she didn't care. But as time passed, the truth became unavoidable. She made a mistake, and now she wants you back. She'll test the waters. A random message, a like on an old picture, or a casual, "How have you been?" She wants to see if you're still there, still waiting, still hers. But what she doesn't understand is that once a Stoic man moves on, he never returns. Because returning would mean stepping backward, undoing all the growth, the self-improvement, and the wisdom gained. And a true Stoic never moves in reverse. Most men fall into the trap of nostalgia. They mistake her regret for genuine change. They believe that just because she misses them, it means she values them now. But here's the harsh truth. Missing you isn't the same as respecting you. She doesn't miss you. She misses what you provided. The stability, the strength, the certainty. But if she didn't value it then, why should she deserve it now? That's why the strongest move you can make is to keep walking forward. No second chances. No entertaining old flames. Just a quiet, unshakable understanding that once she lost you forever. And nothing is more painful than knowing you had something valuable, only to realize, too late, that it's never coming back. Here's the ultimate truth. Her regret is irrelevant. It changes nothing. Because a Stoic man doesn't live for validation. He lives for himself. She can cry, reminisce, or pretend she's changed, but it doesn't matter. Because the moment you detached, you became untouchable. And that's what truly haunts her. Not just losing you, but losing the chance to ever have you again. Most men never reach this level. They get stuck in the cycle of chasing, forgiving, and hoping. But the men who truly move on, they become legendary in her mind because they prove what she never thought was possible, that she was replaceable, but you weren't. And that is a regret she will carry for life. If you've ever experienced this, if a woman has left you only to regret it later, drop your story in the comments. I'll be reading them, and trust me, I'll reach out. Let's hear your experiences.